still remember the exact moment my heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. The room was filled with laughter, crystal glasses clinking, and expensive perfume hanging in the air. I stood there in my elegant black dress, smiling softly like I always did. And then he said it. My own boyfriend, Marcus, the man I had loved for 3 years, raised his glass and laughed. "Come on, everyone, let's be real. She's just for show. Beautiful, yes, but we all know she's not the one running anything here." The entire room erupted in laughter. Some people even nodded, as if he had spoken a funny but obvious truth. My cheeks burned. I wanted the ground to open up and swallow me whole. My name is Elena Voss. On the outside, I was the perfect poster girl, always graceful, always polished, always standing beside powerful men. People saw my face, my style, my quiet smile, and assumed that was all there was. But what they didn't know was that I had built my empire in silence. While Marcus was busy chasing applause and climbing the corporate ladder using my connections, I had been making moves no one saw coming. That night, as I stood there humiliated in front of 200 people, something inside me finally broke. Not in weakness, but in clarity. I smiled through the pain, just like I always had, but this time my smile carried a secret. Because the woman they had all just laughed at, she was about to burn their perfect little world to the ground. For months, I had suspected Marcus was changing. He became distant. His compliments turned into subtle digs. "You look good, babe. Just keep doing what you do best, looking the part." I told myself it was stress. I ignored the late nights, the secret phone calls, and the way he started taking credit for ideas I whispered to him in bed. I even introduced him to my most important investors, thinking we were building something together. But love makes you blind. The night of the annual leadership gala was supposed to be our night. His company, the one I had quietly invested heavily in, was celebrating a major merger. I had worn the dress he liked most. I had stood by his side like the supportive girlfriend everyone expected me to be. Until he decided to use me as the punchline of his joke. After his cruel words, I excused myself to the restroom. I stared at my reflection, hands shaking. The girl looking back at me wasn't weak. She was tired of being underestimated, tired of being the beautiful accessory in someone else's story. I thought about all the nights I stayed up until 3 a.m. negotiating deals while Marcus was out networking. I remembered how I had bought 51% of the company's shares through 3 different silent investment firms, all under my maiden name. Marcus had no idea. No one did. When I walked back into the ballroom, Marcus was still entertaining his circle of admirers, laughing loudly about how I was great for PR but not much else. My heart didn't break anymore. It turned cold. I picked up a microphone from the event coordinator. The room slowly quieted as I stepped onto the small stage. Marcus looked at me with a proud smirk, probably thinking I was going to play along and be the charming, harmless girlfriend. He was wrong. I looked straight at him and spoke calmly, my voice steady, but filled with quiet power. "Marcus is right about one thing," I said. "I am very good at playing the part of the quiet investor who owns 51% of this company." The room went dead silent. I continued. "For the past 18 months, I've been the majority shareholder of Vanguard Dynamics, not as his girlfriend, but as Elena Voss, the founder of Voss Capital." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Marcus's face turned pale. His smug smile completely vanished. I looked directly at him. "You wanted to use me as a pretty face? You wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone? Congratulations. You just publicly insulted the woman who now controls your future." I turned to the board members sitting in the front row. "Effective immediately, I am removing Marcus Reed from his position as Chief Strategy Officer. His shares will be bought out at market value, which, by the way, just dropped significantly." Security was already moving toward him as I stepped off the stage. The man who had called me, just for show, was escorted out while the entire room watched in stunned silence. Later that night, as I sat alone in my penthouse, the weight of everything finally settled. I cried, not because I missed him, but because I had finally chosen myself. I had spent years shrinking so others could feel big. I had hidden my intelligence, my power, and my ambition just to be loved, But love should never cost you your voice. If there's one thing I want you to remember from my story, it's this. Never let them convince you that you're only for show. The most dangerous women are often the ones who smile softly while quietly building empires in the shadows. And when the time is right, we don't scream. We simply reveal who we've been all along. And the tables, they don't just turn, they flip completely.